Welcome to the Seriously Absurd podcast, where there are no stupid questions, only inquisitive idiots.
Hi, Zax.
Hey, Lab.
What are we talking about?
So today, we're going to talk about something, which is what I said in the previous episode. We're going to talk about pen or pencil.
Okay. This is a great follow-up on the everyday carry conversation. What do you carry?
I carry a pen.
You carry a pen. Why don't you carry a pencil?
So, a couple reasons.
Or let's say a pen, a wooden pencil, or a mechanical pencil.
So, I never liked mechanical pencils. I found that the pencil lead or graphite would break really easily, and I found reloading them to be really finicky, and I just never enjoyed them. Granted, I was introduced to them when I was a child, and I may have a different appreciation for them now, but there are many surfaces that a pencil can't write on, like skin, for example, that a pen will readily write on.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually carry a pen that has both black and blue ink.
Okay. So what I have very specific thoughts on not just pen or pencil, but on the specific types and brands of each. So I have not used a wooden pencil since early high school because, in my opinion, because I don't frequently break pencil lead in mechanical pencils, there is no benefit to a wooden pencil over a mechanical. When I did use wooden pencils, I used the Blackwing 602, which is a very, well-regarded artist's pencil. And I'm not an artist at all, so it's sort of a bad use case because it was very soft lead. But I used that, and that worked fine. Then I graduated to mechanical pencils, where I tried many, many mechanical pencils. Settled on the Graph Gear 1000 by Pentel. That has the benefit of, it looks cool, it's very solidly built, it has a retractable tip, and I don't find myself often writing on anything but paper. These days, I only ever write things down at work, and for that I have a Pilot G2 in a titanium body from Tactile Turn, and that's a rollerball 0.7 millimeter pen. And I think that's what I prefer best because I feel like my handwriting is more legible using a pen than it is with either a pencil or a mechanical. And that's really the only reason. Because mechanical pencils, I found the one I like and it works well, but I think I'm more legible using it. And my handwriting's not great. So, I take everything I can get in that regard. And that's why I think I prefer a pen as well. A black pen, though, not blue.
So the reason that I have the dual ink pen is actually just a matter of coincidence. But it is useful because when something is signed in blue ink, it can be argued that it is the original signature and not a photocopy. Now the quality of color photocopies has gotten very good over the years, so I don't know if that still holds, but there are many forms and legal documents that will say right on them they must be signed in blue ink.
I have not encountered that. I haven't signed a ton of legal documents in my life, especially because now you can do everything online. It's like I signed my lease entirely online. But that makes sense. Is it worth... I'm not going to get into the everyday carry conversation again. Apparently it's worth it for you. I don't think it's worth it for me.
This is actually directly related to the everyday carry conversation.
Yeah.
Because my selection of pen is very specific to that. So I started carrying a pen several years ago that was sold as a promotional item at my employer's employee store, and it is a 4.5-inch long pen that is a twist action, retractable pen that has a capacitive touch nubbin on the butt end.
Oh, one of those. Do you ever use it?
I use it all the time. And the utility of this is that it fits perfectly in what I will refer to as my pen pocket. So I love this form factor, but then my pen ran out of ink, and I went back to the store to get one, and they didn't have them anymore. And then I spent probably a couple weeks trying to find the same pen at a promotional items place.
Yeah.
And I was not able to find the exact same one. So I started just ordering samples from wherever I could of pens that were basically 4.5 inches long, which there are not a lot of short pens out there. And one of them that I did find just so happens to be a dual action. So you twist it one way and it will put out the black ink, and you twist it the other way and it'll put out the blue ink. And then it also has the capacitive nubbin on the end, and it fits perfectly in my pocket.
Well, you found what works for you. What about, I want to say price? You obviously put a lot of effort. Do you loan your pen out very easily? Are you okay with it being lost? Or do you have a more substantial investment in your pen, monetarily or emotionally?
It would be tremendously frustrating to me if I lost this pen, because it is only a sample from a place that has a minimum order of 250. And the idea of ordering 250 is not one that I have discounted. I just haven't done it yet.
Well, you'd be set for life if you did that.
I'd be set for more than just life, I think. I'd be set for, like, gift giving of short pens for life.
Yeah, I mean, if you bought it that many, you'd be loaning them out like crazy. It's like, yeah, I keep it, sure. I don't
Right.
care.
Which actually, this is something that I forgot to mention when we were doing the everyday carry discussion, when I was talking about my cheaper flashlight that I carry. I had ordered a bunch of them in bulk, and I do occasionally give them out to people. So if I did have extra pens, I would probably give them to people.
You just give people a gift bag of all the bulk orders you do for your everyday carry. Yeah, like, here's my everyday carry. I've got 250 identical sets.
I mean, the flashlights, the bulk order was principally for stocking stuffers one year, and I just...
You actually buy the pants duplicate, too. You could just give them a pair of pants pre-filled.
I could do that, yes. That is an interesting idea. Yeah.
This heaviest pair of pants.
Don't knock it until you've tried it. Anyhow,
All right.
so pen versus pencil. When I was a kid in elementary school, they actually gave us these pencils that were like no name, no brand. They were thicker than normal, what I would consider like a normal number 2 pencil. And they were...
There were number 1 pencils, probably.
I believe that the number 1 versus number 2 just refers to the firmness of the graphite in the pencil and not its dimensions. So when I say number 2 pencil, what I'm really saying is like a hexagonal yellow, with an eraser at the end. But these generic pencils that they gave us in elementary school were much thicker. I don't know if they would be quite half an inch thick, but they were much thicker than the standard sort of yellow pencil. They didn't have an eraser on the end, and they were perfectly cylindrical. They didn't have any sort of hexagonal shape to them. And they just looked like very generically mass-produced, like the kind of thing that you would extrude in like 12-foot sections and then just chop up into pencils, which I imagine is how all the pencils are made, but just very, very generic, cheap pencils. And they just gave them out to the students. And I remember that writing with those pencils, I had the same problem that I have with the erasable pens, that I would just smear the graphite all over the page because I'm left-handed.
Mm.
And so I was very frustrated by that. When we did finally get into using like proper number 2 pencils, I had less of that issue. But then we moved into erasable pens, and I had that issue all the time. And then we moved into non-erasable pens, and I have that issue less frequently. With modern pens, gel pens are the worst, and just standard ballpoint pens are sort of ideal.
I don't know if the pen I use is a gel pen. So what I have is, as I mentioned, a tactile turn bolt action titanium pen, because I'm fancy that way. But it has the core of a Pilot G2, which is like a $3 pen.
Yeah.
So it's just the outside of, a cool... I got it because it's cool, and that's the only reason. But the inside is the Pilot G2, which I think is a gel pen, but it's, a black rollerball pen. And, I thought about when I decided to buy that pen and to have that be my writing instrument that I use in most situations, am I going to miss being able to erase stuff? And the answer is really no, because I never erased stuff when I had a pencil, because it was quicker to just cross it out.
Right.
And I guess I hated my teachers enough that I was like, yeah, what's this? I'm just going to scribble.
So when I think about this actually a little bit, I'm reminded of pens that I have had in the past that I really liked and I have lost.
Mm.
There was a pen that I had, which I bought at I can't remember the exact nature of the place. I bought it on a road trip, and it was the kind of thing that I'm pretty sure is illegal in most states, but it was a pen that had a blade inside. And I didn't like it for the blade, I liked it for the weight. I liked the way that it felt in my hand, and I liked the just how heavy it was. And then there was a similar pen, well, a pen that I like for similar reasons, that had a laser pointer in it, and it was actually a little bit thicker than, your average pen, and it had a sort of tapered shape to it, but it had like this big weight on the butt end because of like the battery and the laser pointer and everything. And I just really liked the way that it felt to write with it. Like it had a sort of dampening effect on my chicken scratch that I don't know if it actually made my handwriting look better, but it felt better to write with.
I think what makes my handwriting better when using a pen is the contrast. When there's more contrast between your mark and the paper, I think it's more easy to distinguish between letters and, just more legible in that regard.
I think that when it comes to writing, one of the things that has always frustrated me is the sort of cupping of a sheet of paper, where there is a certain amount of give in the paper when I put my writing utensil to it, and that there isn't like a static plane that I am consistently interacting with, but that the sort of warping of the paper gives me an inconsistent surface to deal with. But I realize that this is my own personal struggle and not something that bothers other people.
Well, this is very telling that you use a lot of pressure when writing. Because you were saying how you break pencil lead in mechanical pencils.
Yeah.
So, and you cause indents in the paper as you write. So it's definitely a pressure thing.
Well, yes, but it
has
has to be a pressure thing in order to ensure that the paper is consistently on a given plane and that I'm not dealing with a range of paper depth.
Do you have a problem with paper like not lying flat on tables?
I mean, we're probably talking about a millimeter's worth of variation here, but it's something that bugs me.
Okay. I mean, a millimeter is a lot in that situation. I've just never had that. My papers are flat on whatever surface I put them on. But I understand if you have that issue, then it would be very annoying. So I get that.
So I don't know the last time I used a pencil.
Neither do I.
Like I'm trying to think about it. I don't have one I have like a little cart beside my desk, and it has a bunch of pens in it. I don't think there are any pencils.
I have mechanical pencils in mind because I do have that same cart, and I figured out long ago. I bought like 10 different sort of higher end mechanical pencils to figure out what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If there are mechanical pencils that rotate the graphite as you lift up and put down the pen so that it sharpens itself into a point even finer than the diameter of the pencil lead.
What?
So there's some crazy stuff out
Hold
there.
on. I need to know more about this. Is this a brand that you're familiar with? Can we go into this?
Yes, probably.
So
are we okay with Googling?
Yeah, no, Google away.
Okay, so you need to remember what it is.
Because I've never heard of something like this, and I'm very interested in the idea of a sort of self-sharpening, wear-leveling pencil.
Yeah, it is definitely a thing.
That is up there with, like, tires that rotate themselves.
So, if you'll bear with... Yes, it's the Uniball Kurutoga. So, at least it's some models of the Uniball Kurutora. So, it says, Advanced Rotating Lead Engine ensures 0.5 millimeter nano diamond lead pencil is always sharp and your writing is on point. So I bought one of these, and the method by which it works is whenever you put the pencil on paper, it moves the lead up by a very imperceptible amount.
Uh-huh.
And then when you lift the pen up again, it slots into sort of the next cog in a ratchet.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you lift up and put down the pencil as you're writing words or letters, it rotates it by a minute amount. And as a result, you end up with not like sort of a slanted, chisel end to your mechanical pencil, but an actual fine-tipped.
That is very interesting. Unfortunately...
Are you going to switch sides now?
No, it's too long. It won't fit in my pocket.
I'm sure you could get one that's short. I'm sure they exist. I found it was more of a gimmick than I cared for. Because, the lead is only half a millimeter in diameter to begin with. So you have to be a very precise writer to get a lot of use out of that.
Maybe the precision matters less than the frustration of writing with an uneven tip.
I mean, the tip is uneven, but it's uneven in the orientation that I'm holding the pen. So I don't really experience that unevenness until I put down the pencil and pick it up again, and it's in a different orientation, and the point feels different as a result.
I wonder if it would be weird to write with, like if you were sensitive tactilely to the sort of physical feedback that the pencil provides, if each time you put it to paper, it felt slightly different. I wonder if that would be annoying.
If you're that sensitive to these extremely minute variations, then I assume it would. The reason that I settled on my Pentel Graph Gear 1000 0.5 millimeter is that it retracts. So one problem that I had with mechanical pencils, and regular pencils too for that matter, is they have a very sharp point, because the end of the barrel is, if you have 0.5 millimeter lead, it's only, 0.7 millimeters diameter on the tip of that, which is easily enough to pierce through, clothing or pockets or anything like that. The benefit of the graph gear is that it retracts into itself the same way a ballpoint pen would. So the tip of this mechanical pencil is as blunt as a ballpoint pen that retracts.
Interesting.
Which is something that other mechanical pencils cannot say.
I remember when I was a kid, the mechanical pencils that we had, if you held in the eraser end, that normally you would click to, extend it, you could then push the lead back into the pencil, which is something that I know friends of mine did to protect the end of it, because, like you say, it gets very pointy and catches on things and pokes holes in things and whatnot.
Well, yeah, you can still do that, but you can't retract the actual metal barrel end that holds the lead.
Oh.
That's what I'm talking about. So that goes in too.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's a huge benefit. It might be possible that, you talked about the very universal downsides of using a pencil or mechanical pencil, but it might be that your experience with mechanical pencils has only been very low-end ones. Like the all plastic ones that you took apart in school and made, little catapults out of.
Right. Yeah. The cheaper ones, and also the ones from 30 years ago.
Yeah. So I imagine the technology has advanced somewhat. Similarly with pens, it used to be a staple, a bastion of nerdism to have a pocket protector, because you'd store your pens in your shirt pocket and your pens would just leak.
Yep.
And then that was to protect your pocket. That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
You don't have to worry about your pens just leaking everywhere. I've never had that problem.
That's true. That's something that I've never even considered.
So I think the technology has come a long way in both arenas, to where, the balance between those two might have changed but ultimately, I think we're both agreed that we prefer pens on the whole.
Yeah.
So I think we figured that one out. Buy a pen, buy a nice pen, and maybe buy another pen that's cheaper to lend out to people.
That fits in your pocket.
Pen for yourself.
It's got to fit.
That fits in your pocket.
Yeah.
Well, or your backpack. I keep mine in my backpack or at work.
I don't wear a backpack. I wear purse pants.
Well, you do you. Thanks, X.
Thanks, Lab. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Seriously Absurd podcast. Please come back again next week for a discussion about water.